Samuel de Champlain was a French explorer, navigator, soldier, cartographer, geographer, diplomat, and chronicler, who founded Quebec City and established New France as a permanent colony in North America. Throughout his life, he made between 21 to 29 voyages across the Atlantic. He created the first accurate maps of North America's eastern coastline and the Great Lakes region, combining direct observation with information provided by indigenous peoples. His detailed maps and written accounts provided Europeans with their first comprehensive understanding of the geography and peoples of northeastern North America. In the Great Lakes region, around Quebec, Champlain forged alliances with the Algonquin, Montagnais, and Hurons against the Iroquois. In the following quote, Champlain describes what happened when his Indian allies took prisoners. After going 8 leagues, toward evening they took one of the prisoners and harangued him about the cruelties that he and his people had inflicted on them, without having any consideration for them, and said that similarly he ought to make up his mind to receive as much. They commanded him to sing, if he had any courage, which he did, but it was a song very sad to hear. Meanwhile, our men lighted a fire, and when it was blazing, well, each one took a brand and burned this poor wretch little by little to make him suffer greater torment. Sometimes they stopped and threw water on his back. Then they tore out his nails and put the fire on the ends of his fingers and on his privy member. Afterward they flayed the top of his head and dripped on top of it a kind of gum, all hot. Then they pierced his arms near the wrists, and with sticks pulled the sinews and tore them out by force. And when they saw that they could not get them, they cut them. This poor wretch uttered strange cries, and I pitied him when I saw him treated in this way. And yet he showed such endurance that one would have said that, at times, he did not feel any pain. They strongly urged me to take some fire, and do as they were doing, but I explained to them that we did not use such cruelties at all, and that we killed them at once, and that if they wished me to fire a musket shot at him, I would do it gladly. They said no, and that he would not feel any pain. I went away from them, distressed to see so much cruelty as they were practicing upon this body. When they saw that I was not pleased at it, they called me and told me to fire a musket shot at him, which I did without his seeing it at all. After he was dead, they were not satisfied, for they opened his belly and threw his entrails into the lake. Then they cut off his head, his arms, and his legs, which they scattered in different directions, and kept the scalp, which they had skinned off, as they had done with all the others that they had killed in the battle. They committed also another wickedness, which was to take the heart, which they cut into several pieces, and gave to a brother of his and others of his companions, who were prisoners, to eat. They put it into their mouths, but would not swallow it. Some Algonquin savages, who were guarding them, made some of them spit it out and threw it into the water. This is how these people treat those whom they capture in war, and it would be better for them to die in fighting, or to kill themselves on the spur of the moment, as there are many who do, rather than fall into the hands of their enemies. 2 days afterward we reached our settlement, where I had them given bread, peas, and beads, which they asked me for to ornament the heads of their enemies, in order to make merry on their arrival. The next day I went with them in their canoes to Tadoussac, to see their ceremonies. As they approached the shore, each one took a stick with the heads of their enemies hung on the ends, with these beads on them, singing one and all. When they were near the shore, the women undressed entirely naked and threw themselves into the water, going in front of the canoes, to take the heads to hang afterward to their necks, like a precious chain." End quote. In this next quote, Champlain is speaking specifically about the Montagnais. These savages scalped the heads of their dead enemies, as they are accustomed to do, as a trophy of their victory, and took them away. They returned, with 50 of their own men wounded, and 3 of the Montagnais and Algonquins dead, singing, their prisoners with them. They hung these heads on sticks in front of their canoes, and a dead body cut into quarters, to eat in revenge, as they said. End quote. In the following quote, he further describes the torture practices of his Indian allies, specifically the Indian women. "I asked the savages for an Iroquois prisoner, whom they gave me. I saved him from a good many tortures that he would have suffered, such as they inflicted upon his companions, whose nails they tore out, whose fingers they cut off, and whom they burned in many places. That day they killed 3 of them in this way. They took others to the edge of the water and fastened them all erect to a stake. Then each one came with a torch of birch bark and burned him now in one place, now in another. And these poor wretches, when they felt the fire, shrieked so loud that it was a strange thing to hear them. After making them suffer in this way, they took some water and threw it over their bodies, to make them suffer more. Then they applied the fire again, in such a way that the skin fell from their bodies. And they continued to cry out loudly, and to exclaim, dancing until these poor unfortunates fell dead on the spot. As soon as a body fell to the ground, they beat it with heavy blows of a stick, then cut off the arms and legs, and other parts of it. And he was not regarded as a man of importance among them who did not cut off a piece of the flesh, and give it to the dogs. Nevertheless, all these tortures were endured with such firmness that those who look on are astonished. As for the other prisoners who remained, whether to the Algonquins or the Montagnais, they were kept to be killed by the hands of their wives and daughters, who, in this, do not show themselves any less inhuman than the men, and they even surpass them in cruelty. For, by their cunning, they invent more cruel tortures, and take pleasure in making them end their lives thus. End quote. These tribes made no gender discrimination when it came to torturing prisoners. In the next quote, Champlain shames a chief for his savagery towards Indian women. Our savages, as they were exploring, met, 4 leagues from the enemy's stronghold, 11 savages whom they took prisoners, namely 4 women, 3 boys, 1 girl, and 3 men, who were going fishing. Now it must be noted that one of the chiefs, upon seeing these prisoners, cut off the finger of one of these poor women as a beginning of their usual punishment. Whereupon I interfered, and blamed the chief Iroquois, showing him that it was not the act of a warrior, as he represented himself to be cruel to the women, who have no defense but their tears, and who, on account of their helplessness and weakness, should be treated kindly. I told him that, on the contrary, this act would be thought to come from a low and brutal courage, and that if he did any more of these cruel things he would not give me any courage to assist them, or to favor them in their war. To which his only answer was that their enemies treated them in the same way, but that since this sort of thing was displeasing to me, he would do nothing more to the women, but he certainly would to the men. End quote. Thank you for watching.